Hi, Church. Having dealt with three lettuces in the past from Hebrews, let us throw off, let us run, let us fix our eyes on Jesus, I thought I would consider some of the other lettuces from the book of Hebrews. And the one that I've chosen today is found in Hebrews chapter 4, verse 11, where the writer says, "Let us therefore make every effort to enter that rest, so that no one will perish by following their example of disobedience." Now, we're coming into the middle of a story in Hebrews 4, and maybe you'd want to read it for yourself. But basically, he's talking about Sabbath rest. He's talking about the whole theology of Sabbath. And in order to understand that, we need to remember that in Genesis, God creates the world in 6 days, and then on the seventh, he rests. And the idea of resting is that's it, done. Everything is done. You know, like if you're cleaning your house and you work through all the hoovering and the dusting and all of that, and then that's it, done. And you might sit down and have a cup of tea. So there's that idea of rest. And that was put into the Ten Commandments for Israel, that you've to remember the Sabbath day, the seventh day every week, to make it holy and to remember that God has made everything complete. After Jesus had died and risen and ascended to the Father and the early church was growing, as we know, it grew with mainly Gentile believers. And these Gentiles had no affiliation with the seventh day, with Sabbath. It wasn't their background to do anything on that day. And instead, the church looked to not the seventh day, but the first day in order to worship, because it was on the first day of the week that Jesus rose from the dead. And so the first day, if you like, became their kind of holiday. And we have inherited that. So Sunday tends to be the day when we meet together as a church and we worship and we break bread and so forth. It's not a hard and fast rule. We could meet on a Tuesday if we decided, but society is configured in this country especially that Sunday is the time when we can go to church and worship. And so historically, when I was growing up, my church used to call it the Sabbath. It wasn't the seventh day, it was the first day, but it was the Sabbath. Now, the principle is this: the Sabbath is no longer just a day, it's a principle. And the writer is saying, enter into the Sabbath rest. The fact that God has not only created the world in 6 days, but completed it. Jesus died on the cross in order and rose again to complete the salvation work that was needing to be done. So there's nothing that we can do by way of works to make ourselves any more saved as believers than we already are. And so we can totally rest on the fact that the work has been done. Jesus said it himself on the cross. It is finished. We don't have to perform in order to be saved. If we perform at all, it's in order to be more like the Jesus that we worship. But it's not a salvation act. So let's make every effort to enter that rest today. Rest in all the works of Christ that have been achieved for you. Just rest in it and know that you belong to Father, that you've been adopted into his family. And therefore, no matter what is going on around you today, it is well with your soul.